This guy went on a food strike. Our administrator had our kitchen cook up a nice burger and stuff, right? Left it in his cell. First thing he did was just immediately urinate on it. 30 minutes later, I look at the camera, he's just chowing down on this burger that he just urinated on.
Crime Talk 369, prison stories on the line, New York rhythm in the spine. If you did it or you didn't, you gon' feel it in this.
And where do you work at again?
Northwestern, North Dakota, northeastern Montana area. I was either going to go into the military from a young age, I knew that, or as a first responder. I just kind of fell into being a CO out of all the options.
So when you first started out, how was life? You know, kind of crazy things. Is it anything that you expected?
It is nothing like I expected, because I was so used to how it was over in Montana. I grew up in areas in Montana where meth was really big, had a large facility, constant fights, and just constant medical codes and all that. I'm glad I moved away from that area, and I'm where I'm at now. Still do get crazy stuff. We had an ex-MMA guy come into our facility. He came in heavily intoxicated, and it took 5 COs and 3 PD officers to wrestle him down to get him pat searched and into a padded cell for his safety and our officer's safety.
Were you one of the people with wrestling them down?
No, I ended up coming in like shortly after that happened. They were trying to get people in because they knew who he was. That was one of the incidences that got someone fired for excessive use of force, which it wasn't. They were just looking for a fall guy.
What did he accuse them of?
He went to go turn to spit on the officer, saw that and hit him because, that's lethal force. You don't know what he has, what he has AIDS, HIV, anything like that, right? Trying to also bite him, so he punched him in the face once, and he immediately turned his head, and they called that excessive force.
Tricky job being a CO. I thought usually they use the camcorder. They didn't have one of those? Usually when they go in a cell.
It wasn't an extraction, so they didn't have one of those on standby ready to go. It was, they were receiving them, and they just ended up going to his house because he was being just verbally combative, and then it became physically combative. Cell doors, right? They have windows so we can see in. Our policy that you can't cover it because we got to be able to check on you, make sure you're not trying to self-delete or anything like that, right? I'm walking by, inmate has toilet paper stuck up against the window, so I can't see in. I just barely crack it enough, knock it down, see him that he's okay, close the door, and I keep walking. He gets everyone in the unit super riled up over it, claiming that I'm gay and all sorts of other stuff, right? Ended up getting so agitated in that unit. My lieutenant in chief told me I can't go in that unit alone. If I'm going in there, it needs to be a minimum of 2, ideally 3 officers, because we hold a lot of problematic inmates for the state. They actually send us their problematic inmates that they can't get to behave. They send them to us. We enforce our rules and policies, and when you send them back, they don't have an issue anymore.
What's the craziest incident you've seen with an inmate? Do you have any inmates that they play with their own fecal matter? You know, like what they call it, the Glock Dookies and stuff?
We're at our facility, we call them the poop Picassos.
Oh, really? Was it just a few inmates doing it?
It's about 1 or 2 a month that we end up getting in that does it. And normally they get brought down, and that's when they get agitated. We bring them down to our intake area, which is also our pre-hearing and DD, which is disciplinary detention. They'll draw and write on the walls with it. But we ended up getting one that really sticks out. We got one crazy guy that would speak and talk to the walls and stuff. Like, he was like mentally ill, and he drew a satanic pentagram with the satanic writing around the edges on the wall with his own feces.
Yeah, you get some disturbed people, man. That's the crazy thing about it. Like, when you go to jail, you don't never know who they're going to stick you in the room with. That's what I tell people, Do you ever get like inmates that refuse to go in certain cells?
Yeah, we've had a couple of inmates that when we go to move them, because we have ADA cells, and we don't have we have so many ADA cells, each pod has 1 or 2, and it's like, okay, well, we need an ADA cell in this cell or this unit, so we're going to move you over here. We bring him over here, and he's like, nope, I'm not housing there because I know this guy, or I know that guy, or I've ran into this guy before, yada, yada, yada. And it's like, all right, cool. We walked him around and would be like, okay, well, do you know anyone in this one? Because we don't want any altercations. But sometimes it's just, all right, cool, you just got to go in there. But sometimes it's, hey, I'm part of this gang. That guy's part of that gang. Check this tattoo. It's there. Or you got to fight them and I get in there.
How's the gang situation?
Right now, we have enough space to keep them separated. We ended up actually taking in some from other counties because they had some higher up ringleaders orchestrate assaults that were bad enough that they had to transport them out of the county to be housed somewhere else to us because of how bad the assaults were.
What's the craziest day?
I would say the day that would be bad for them would be Monday to Thursday. That's when we normally get our date coming in to drop off inmates, picking up inmates. We got court, we got programs running. Anyone that's in the pod that isn't being moved or anything like that, they just kind of get forgotten about, and they don't get the stuff that they need throughout the day or that they want. Small things that we can normally do during the weekend and stuff that isn't a big issue.
Commissary day. That's
No,
what I thought you were going to say.
Our current administrator actually deals with commissary, so us COs don't have to worry about it at all. During those Monday to Thursday is normally when a fight will happen or an altercation, and sometimes we don't catch it at all, and we end up hearing about it like 2 weeks after.
I remember all the time when I did time, it was always commissary day because that's when people, owed other people and they found out they weren't getting their stuff that they were owed. So that's usually when the fights and stuff usually started happening.
No, it's really most of our guys know that if you owe somebody, they all know that they got to pay it up. We've only had like one person do it in like the 4 years that I've been at this facility. So
one person not pay somebody?
Yeah, in 4 years.
How the hell? Yo, that's a crazy jail. Cause I ain't gonna lie, I never heard of that before. I don't know, cause they be getting hooked on drugs so bad, they just be like just owing everybody, man.
Yeah,
that's crazy. Well, you guys must be doing something right over there. What would you do to fix the jails? What do you think should change?
First thing I would do is not use jails and correctional facilities as a mental institution to hold the mentally ill. They need help. The correctional staff are not trained or equipped to deal with them the way that they need the help. And the second part is a lot of facilities need to start offering rehabilitation programs, even in just county jails for the repeat offenders. Because hopefully the couple of classes they do attend might start helping them get out. We got to stop setting people up for failure the minute they bring them in. We're not doing anything to help them. Our facility is now finally realizing that, and we've had one repeat offender. He's been in and out 8 times in 4 years. This is the longest stint that he's been out of our facility, and he's talked to our current programs manager, saying that it's all because of the new programs they're offering.
Ask you, what kind of programs do you guys offer?
Beyond trauma, T for C, which is thinking for change, substance abuse. We're starting to offer a bunch of free psych for inmates and all sorts of other different stuff like that.
Do you ever find weapons on inmates? Because usually it's at prisons. Usually, you might find a couple at jail.
We have found 2 in my 4 years, and we have no idea how they got it because there was no way for them to get the stuff that they had for it because it was like it looked like they took and shaved down like a 2x4, and there is no way or anywhere that they could get a 2x4 in the side of our facility, and they don't go outside for rec or anything like that. Like our rec yard is indoor, so.
Oh, you don't have outdoor rec?
No.
I don't know. Maybe a work detail or something. Don't the inmates work kitchens and stuff?
Yeah, but there's no. Our facility is all like concrete and metal. There's like no wood that they could have access to because I've yet to see a 2x4 anywhere in the facility myself.
If an inmate gets caught with a weapon, do they get extra charges?
So we found that one in like a doorway wedged into it where we couldn't see it because we don't use that door, and it was like barely able to get access to it. Caught with it, yeah. If they are caught with it, they would have gotten extra charges. We couldn't figure out who put it there because it was in one of those areas that it was just spot where it's used for through traffic, so it really doesn't have the best all different angles and cameras for that area.
Yeah, usually, when inmates are in jail, they're going through like trial. They don't know how much time they're getting. They're finding out all the people that's not going to be there for them. I'm surprised you haven't had any way more incidents. It must be a nice jail.
Yeah, no, our facility is very, very strict on the rules, and we hand out razors. We don't give razors out all day. They have an hour to use it. They get 20 minutes for lunch. Like we hard on anything that they could use. They have very limited access to it, and when they do, it's quite heavily monitored, and it's increased rounds in that area.
Yeah, usually, the jails are usually like that. When you get to prison, you can order your own razor. But usually with the jails, at least the jails I've been to one in North Carolina and Maryland, and all those, they hand you razors out, and then they come back around. But inmates are smart, man. The chips, like the little bags of chips, they were taking that, and you know how the inside of it's got like it can kind of look like metal if you fold it up a certain way. They were taking a razor out, and they were putting that so it looked like a razor was still in it. And, it was getting by. It was tricking the COs and everything.
Yeah, no. But ours, they're really hard to really tamper with because they're encased in plastic, so they'd be We've had one guy do it, and it was just super noticeable. It's one of those one single blade safety razors that's encased in plastic, and you can really tell if it's been bent or broken to get the razor out at all. It was during a transport, they went to go bring him out to the hospital, and once they got him out, he tried to take off, but thank God our COs that were on the transport did what they were supposed to do and had him at least one point of cuff, so it was his hands or his legs or ideally both. At the time, he didn't realize that they reapplied the ankle cuffs or ankle irons, and he went to go run, and he just immediately fell.
Hey, he must have been facing some serious time. He said he was.
Yeah, the feds actually came and picked him up like 2 months later.
What would you tell somebody young going in and out of jail about, this is not the life that they want?
Isn't worth the probability of being assaulted or sexually assaulted or anything like that. If you do end up in that situation, do your time, be respectful, but don't take shit from anyone. Don't be a dick though either.
Yeah, that's usually how people get in trouble. If an inmate's offering you something, nobody gives away nothing for free. And if somebody's giving you something, yeah, don't take it, because now you're in debt and you owe that man. And you gave him a reason to come at you, and he's gonna be justified when everybody's like, why is he acting that way towards you? Like, well, he says I owe him. They're gonna be like, well, do you owe him? And they're, everybody's gonna be against you. You don't want one of those situations. Have you guys ever had any riots or anything?
We've had about 2 or 3 close calls a year, but most of the time we can get it resolved and talk to the inmates and prevent it from happening. Most of the time it's over something stupid, simple that we can just slightly change, and it normally doesn't affect our day to day. Yeah, most of it's understandable stuff that they want changed, and it's like, you know what, you do have a valid argument for it. We don't have an issue with it. It's not going to affect our day to day.
So you guys try to work with inmates?
Yeah, we try to. If it's something small, like we were offering rec at like 6:30 in the morning when most of them were sleeping, and they were starting to get super agitated and pent up, and not being able to burn off that energy.
What's the best way to stop contraband from getting into jails? I know they usually get them in through visiting, or sometimes you might even have an officer bring it in. Have you guys had that kind of issue?
We haven't had an officer bring anything in, but we've had officers violate PREA. We've had what, 3 of them in 4 years?
PREA. What do you mean by that?
They were in the process of hooking up with multiple inmates while working in our facility.
So they got caught doing it.
Yes, they did. They were caught. They were calling them on their days off, and that's how we ended up catching them.
Oh, see, I thought if PREA was involved, I thought it was it had to be, they had to be caught doing intercourse, just like a boyfriend girlfriend thing. I thought you just get fired for that.
So it's boyfriend girlfriend. It's penetration, talking sexual to an inmate, anything like that at all.
Is it usually because do you work with girl inmates? I mean, women inmates and male inmates?
Yeah, we are a mixed facility. We hold both.
Okay, so what is it usually? Males that are doing that, or females?
Females all the way so far.
Oh, the female officers are hooking up with the male inmates.
Yes.
Why do you think that is? Do you think it's just because they're getting detention or something?
It could be that, but I know these 3. I was talking to them shortly before they were busted because I was a senior officer that was supposed to be training them and all that, and they sent me in their area to kind of watch and see what they were doing and help them figure stuff out. And they were talking about how they really don't go out and they don't get with guys and stuff like that. And when they do try, they don't get a whole lot of attention. So I think it is that they're hiring anyone with a pulse, and then they're hiring anyone on the bottom of the barrel too.
Yeah, and plus you guys, are you guys understaffed? Are you always constantly working?
Oh yeah, no, we're constantly understaffed. Always 2 to 3 staff members below what our max staff shift can use.
Yeah, that's the thing I was getting at. If they're always at work, they never have any time to on the outside world. They're always in there, and they're always around the inmates. So they might get close to them. So maybe to fixing that, maybe when it's women working in a male section, maybe you limit the time she can be in there, not to be the constantly in there overtime.
Yeah, that wouldn't be a bad idea. That, or I think they need to mix up where they station officers and not just have them on the same units day in and day out.
I don't know if this is how you guys do it the same way, but when I was in jail, sometimes we would only have one officer in the bubble. Maybe if you had more officers in the bubble, they would watch each other. You have you have officers watching officers. Then maybe that kind of thing wouldn't happen.
Yeah, so for ours, we have a main unit, our bubble, right? They open and close doors. They're the ones that log everything. And then we have our sergeant station down below, and we normally have 2 people on each side. And when they do a round, they go together.
Somebody sent a question. Icy, thank you for the donation. What is better, being a cop or a prison officer?
When I was doing the Explorer program and trying to figure out what route I was going to go down, I enjoyed going on the ride-alongs and being out and about. I ended up going into corrections because I was going to use that as a jumping point to get into a patrol car.
Recommending this job to anybody else? Would you tell them that this is your job to try to get?
I am not really. I would be very selective of who I would say that to. There's like maybe 2 people that I would say it to that I know of, and they're ex-military, and that's about it.
So if you're a CEO, if you want to be safe, what are some of the things you got to know when you're going in there and interacting with inmates? What are some of the things that you keep in the back of your head?
Treat everyone like they're human. Be respectful. Don't be a dick. And if you see a small rule violation, think, is it worth the paperwork and the possible verbal or physical altercation? If it's not, and you can resolve it with just a hey, can't be doing this, make it disappear, it's worth it. Because there's one of our policies is you can't keep anything off your tray, and we have them 20 minutes to eat. I can't eat my full meal in 20 minutes. Why should I expect them to eat theirs? If I catch like there's bread, they'll keep bread and stuff like that off the trays. I'll be walking by and I'll just be like, hey, man, that's contraband. I need you to either eat it or move it so I can't see it. I can't eat in 20 minutes. I don't expect them to. And that's actually has solved a lot of issues when it becomes a bigger thing. I can use that as like, hey, man, I help you out. I don't expect you to eat in 20 minutes. Can you at least help me out with this kind of thing? Like, I'm giving you the respect of like allowing you to fix your problems instead of writing you up so you don't lose good time.
The inmates that usually get beat up and stuff, what are they doing wrong? Where do people make mistakes?
It's normally the young kids, early 20s that are coming in that think they got something to prove, or they're trying to be over friendly with everybody and they're just trying to be buddy buddy with everybody in there. And they're just being overly annoying about being constantly present, trying to be friends with everyone.
That's what I try to tell people, try not to give away too much information, because some of the people in there, you're around, you might forget sometimes, but you're around other inmates, criminals, and they get certain information, like they get a hold of your family's numbers and stuff. They might try to extort your family or try to, trick your family out of some money. Do you have inmates like trying to get a hold of other inmates' numbers and stuff to use their accounts?
Yeah, so we have them hand their texter off to each other, which is just basically like a little iPod that's been converted to a phone that we can monitor. They'll hand that around to text other people and all that, or to buy stuff for themselves and stuff like that. And that has become a bigger issue as of recently. We haven't found a good way to deal with it quite yet.
How do you keep your ground?
Treat them with respect, and a lot of the ones that end up breaking the rule, I just talk to them and like they're a human being and pull them out and have a one-on-one conversation. But if they're talking more of like them starting to get agitated, I hold my ground. I've dealt with drug addicts, people that are loud and stuff like that my whole life. So being in there isn't like abnormal for me. County or prison, I work at a county jail.
Do you think county is worse than prison?
I've heard, okay, so we house for the state, right? I've had some state inmates say that they prefer being in our county jail, and I've had some state inmates that say county jail is the worst and they can't wait to go back to the state. So I really think it's a mindset and what you need. Some people want a smaller unit where there's less people, and some prefer larger units where there's more people around. I think it really depends on what you need and what your mindset is and what you make of it.
Jim Jones wants to know, have you been Glock Dookied? Has that happened to you?
I was the number 2 man
I take that
and
as
going in to go get a guy out of his cell, and I was actually supposed to be the number 1 man, but the guy behind me was like, "Hey, I need more experience being the front dude. Let me try it." And I was like, "Sure, here's the shield." He got up to the door, we popped the door, and he got hit right off the bat. So I came close once. Other than that, I haven't had any close calls with it or even had it happen to me.
Yeah, that, man, I ain't gonna lie. I was next when I was in the hole and I was in the county jail, and there was a inmate next door to me, and he was out arguing with the CO, cuffed his hand up like this. He put it behind him and he crapped right in his hand and threw it right at the CO. Man, it got everywhere. And the CO was pissed off. It didn't get on the CO, but he threw it at him. It was all over like the rails and stuff. The CO called the cleaning man, another inmate that cleans up, called him out there to clean it up. And then, he's mad and he's cleaning it up. He's like, "Why'd you do this, man? You got me cleaning up shit and stuff."
Been weird. We haven't had any of those. We've had one guy try, and they immediately tagged him on with charges, and that's put a stop to it right away.
You make good money, heaps of overtime as a CO.
This is probably the best paying job I've had. Overtime's nice, but I'm right now where my pay is at. Anytime that I do overtime, they end up taking more money. I end up making less money than I do if I don't work overtime because it puts me just barely over that tax bracket. And the next one, and it screws me over.
Inmate tried to, get you to bring in anything or, do business with inmate?
I've had quite a few of them ask me, and they're like, "Hey, I need you to bring me this," and I just shut it down. They're like, "Oh, well, I'll give you money for it," and it's like, no, yeah, you might be able to pay me now. I do that, I lose my job. You're still not going to pay me then because I'm not bringing you that stuff. So then, how am I going to make my livelihood?
Because that's a trick, if you bring him one cigarette in, next time he's gonna be like, "Yo, you need to bring me in a pack," or I'm gonna tell them that you brought me in that cigarette. You witnessed a man that was trying to self-delete. That wasn't the scariest moment?
No, I would say it was when we got this like almost 7 foot, 350 pounds of pure muscle guy come in, and he was highly agitated. Me and like 2 barely 5 foot females that were receiving this guy with me, and he was agitated. And I was like, if something does go wrong and we end up having to go hands on, I'm gonna have to do all of the work because these were 2 new female COs that didn't know how to do anything, and this was like their first day off of our little orientation basic that we give them.
Yeah, so you kind of felt like you didn't have backup. If that's in the back of your mind, you're like, what are these? What are they going to do? Y'all do have mace and stuff, though, right?
Yeah, we do, but it's from what I've seen, and whenever we do use our OC or when you need it, it doesn't work. But when you don't really need it and you use it, it works. It's not reliable like everyone thinks it is.
Have you ever had to use your taser?
No, I've had a lot of other staff pull it before I do because I'm more confident in my hands-on, and I grew up, like I told you, doing the Explorer program and all that, so I have a little bit more knowledge than most people that are around me. End up getting their joint locked and arm locked or a leg lock, restrict them so they can't really move, and they'll end up pulling a taser or something because they can't get it. They can't get their arm pinned or something like that. If it's for hands-on, there's like 2 of them. Well, there's only 2 out of the whole facility that I trust. And both of them have done either first responder or one of them was a correctional officer in the Philippines before they came out here.
The Philippines?
Yeah. From what I heard, ours is like paradise compared to theirs. Feeling overwhelmed with your job. Only times that I do is when I'm in control and I'm the one opening and closing doors, answering phones, logging everything. There's times where I get 7 people needing something at once, and they're all because we prioritize stuff, right? We have our pod where staff are dealing with inmates. That's top priority. Staff and intake dealing with inmates down there is top priority. And then at the same time, I had 2 78s going on at the same time. So staff were trying to deal with a medical and a fight. And I had our state's attorney on the line that was trying to ask me questions at the same time. And I just hung up on the state's attorney, and he was not happy about that. He called back and talked to the administrator, and the administrator came and was like, "Hey, next time, don't just hang up on the state's attorney. If you need to, just cold transfer him to an administration phone." Did nitpick some stuff that I normally wouldn't enforce. I'm not perfect. I'm not a robot. After I realized I was doing that, and another officer kind of went, "Hey, what are you doing? That's not like you." I took a step back and reassessed how I was dealing with the dude and all that. For us, we don't have the windows on the inside of the cell. The only window in their cell is the door window, so we can see in, and we allow them to block the light coming in on the top bunk with a book on it, or stuck it under the mattress so it will hang down and block it.
Does this job affect you, your family? Your relationship when outside? Is it a stressful job?
Stressful? Not really. Like I told you, I'm used to stuff like this. But it does change how we go out and about and what we do. Like there's been times we go out in the public and all that, and I know that this inmate that's now released has an issue specifically with me. We'll see him out and about, and we'll just go, okay, well, he's in the aisle that we need to go to, so we'll go down this aisle and go pick up some other stuff because I know he has an issue with me, and he's approached me in public already a couple of times. And then there's times that we're we decided not to go to events because we'd already know that there's going to be a bunch of drunk people that are agitated and stuff like that, because we've gone to like the state fair and local events in town where a bunch of people are drunk and then they'll get agitated and start fights and all that, and we just decided to not even go that way.
An inmate can say to stop you from writing the charge down?
Not really. I won't change what my write-up is. I don't talk to him until I have my write-up already done, printed, ready to go. I'll pull him out and talk to him, be like, hey man, you're getting it written up for this. This is what we decided based off of your actions. You can appeal it through this route, and I'll explain the whole write-up, why they're getting it, their appeal process if they want to appeal it, and what the sanction is, when it will take effect, how long it will be in effect, all of that.
Does your life ever feel like it's endangered?
The only time that it did was when I had that incident with that one housing unit, when I had my chief and my lieutenant tell me I can't go in that unit without two or three officers in there in total. Some of them know who I am. They respect me. They respect how I talk to them. I joke around with them. I won't just, I'm not a dick like some officers are, and I'll come in, they'll be like, hey, I got this write-up, and they'll show me, and it was over something petty, like not having their bed made by 8 a.m. And they were in the day room, because one of our policies is if you're not in your bed has to be made by 8 a.m. I don't write people up about it. I view it as something small. I don't make my bed when I get out of it in the morning. I don't expect them to. I can't think of a single person I know personally that makes their bed when they get out of it in the morning.
What's the longest you ever see an inmate be at your jail?
A little over a year and a half.
Yeah, that's crazy. I was in the same jail for like almost 3 years. That's back when COVID-19 was going on.
All that in our facility, and I was leaving the oil field, so it was quite different going from no mask and if you got COVID, it is what it is, to working there, and I ended up catching COVID twice, ended up getting sent home for a week.
You caught it at the jail?
Yeah.
Yeah, man. I remember one day they came in there and they told us to lock down. We didn't think nothing of it. We thought, we're just getting locked down for a day, and they left us locked down for like 30 days. We didn't take any showers or anything. We had to do burp baths.
No, our facility, if we end up locking down a unit for more than just that day, we let people out individually out of their cell one at a time.
Why did you want to become a CO?
Why I go from oil field to CO was pay was better, the hours were better, they were more consistent and solid. It wasn't, oh well, one day we need you to work 8 hours and the next day we need you to work 16. I was working as roustabout and then a plant disposal operator and stuff like that. I got tired of working with people. You didn't care about any other one's safety, which we still have that issue here, but it's not as bad. We have a couple of COs that don't care about anyone else's safety. But we have one guy when I was working in the oil field, his name was Dano. HR, safety, and everyone else called him Disaster Dano. He sent 3 people to the ER in like a week, and I was one of them, pretty much. And I applied. I was like, I'm just going to throw an app in, see what happens. And I got down with my interview, and within 5 minutes of my interview being done, they called me to tell me I was hired if I wanted it.
What does it take to be a CO? Like the hiring process, is it easy to become a CO? Is there any requirements?
So for us, for our facility, you have to be able to pass a background check, have a high school diploma, and a valid driver's license for the state that we're working in, North Dakota. And other than that, within a year, you're going to be sent to basic, and you have to pass basic.
So if you got like a felony, you can't become a CO?
They won't hire felons, and then certain misdemeanors will make it so you can't.
Oh, they won't even hire misdemeanors?
Yeah, so anything with the like domestic violence, simple assault, anything like that, they won't hire. The Native American one, I can't think of the name of it. It's like MOB or something like that. We have a lot of them.
A Native American gang?
Yes, we're nestled against like 2 different reservations, so we have a lot of them coming in and out. We have 2 Crips come in. That was the ones that had that serious assault that they did in another county. We're housing them for them. We've had a couple of Bloods. We didn't have any issue with them. A couple of MS-13s. They were just a brief, like 48-hour hold, and the feds came and picked them up.
Because down here it's totally different. Yeah, man, that's all you see is gangs down here. You got any biker gangs up there? Like the Hells Angels or something like that?
We've had a couple of them go through town. I've seen them out and about. But another crazy one that we had was that I still think about. Okay, so the self-delusion one, every time I walk past that cell, I think about it. And then there's this one that we had this guy go on a food strike, which it's not like oh my God, crazy, but it's just funny that just sticks in my mind. This guy went on a food strike. Our administrator had our kitchen cook up a nice burger and stuff, right? And they left it in a cell. First thing he did was just immediately urinate on it. 30 minutes later, I look at the camera, he's just chowing down on this burger that he just urinated on. I guess because it was like his 3rd or 4th day without eating.
Yeah, but why would he urinate on it?
Yeah, because he didn't want anything that we were giving him because he was refusing to eat. He went on food strike because he wanted to go back to the state. The state said, nope, he's staying with you guys. Put him on food strike for now, and we'll reassess. We want a daily report if he's eaten or not. So he went 3 or 4 days without eating, put the burger in there, left it in his cell, and just urinated on it because he wanted to show that, hey, I'm not eating this. Send me back is the message he was trying to send. And then we catch him just chowing down on the burger.
So, how long would he have to go before y'all would have did something? How many days would he have had to go before y'all intervened?
I honestly wouldn't know. That would have been admin that would have made the call, and the state would have made that decision. I'm low down on that totem pole when it comes to getting that information. So we ended up getting this guy in, right? He was in for felony manslaughter, right? Arson, a bunch of other stuff. He ended up frying his brain on meth like years prior. So he was not there, and he would wake up in the middle of the night pounding on the cell door and just pounding on it like no tomorrow, yelling, "Where am I? I need out." And then whenever staff would walk by that he would know by name, like he would know me by name, and he would be like, "Who are you?" and yelling and trying to get out of the cell. And he's like, "I'm going to kill you."
I forgot to ask you, what are some of the items in there that cause the most fights?
Definitely the TV. 9 times
How
out
many
of 10,
TVs do you guys have in the rec room?
they get one big flat screen in their day room.
So everybody's sharing one flat screen. How does that work?
And they just gotta work together and figure out what they want to watch. There's been times where I go in and they're arguing over it. I take the remote and I put on the religious channel and leave.
You put on the religious channel and leave?
Yeah, because then they can't go, "Oh, you're restricting my religious stuff," and then they can't sue because I'm giving them their religious channel.
Do you plan on working
So,
at any other different jails, or you plan on just staying at that one?
I've looked at working at some other facilities. When I could do the interview, I'll normally ask to go on like a little tour to see what it looks like and all that. And 9 times out of 10, it's either run down or the pay is like way worse, and the housing is like double or triple the cost. So would it make sense moving there?
Have you ever thought about working at prison?
Actually, we've had like 3 or 4 COs from the prison from the other side of the state come to our facility to work because our facility is and pay is a lot better.
Yeah, so I guess if everybody's trying to come there, you must as well just stay there.
I did see someone ask what happens if someone breaks the TV. They get brought down to pre-hearing, and then they'll normally get RTQ'd in the pod, then brought down for restricted quarters, and then they'll have to pay for it. And we have a couple of them in storage, so they'll get replaced same day or following day.
Yeah, what does it take it out there? Commissary money?
Yep.
Basically, they
And
go
then
in
if they don't,
negative.
yeah, and if they don't have enough, it goes into negative, and then they can put in for a thing called a 50/50 plan, which 50% of their money they get to put on their books, and then 50% get to put towards the debt. A couple of more stories as I'm thinking about it. There is this one guy, right? We moved him down. He was another buddies with the crazy dude that was not fully there, right? And he had like that 1,000-yard stare, like his brain was fried, right? He would always have his pants like halfway down his thigh and his hand right up the prison wallet. And every time we came
He's just
through
sitting
for a
there with his
check,
hand up his own.
yeah,
Wow,
door wide open so everyone in the day room can see. Every time we walked through, we had to tell him to take his hand out of that area and pull his pants up. Every time.
I bet nobody messed with him, man. That's one way to not for everybody to leave you alone. Because if everybody thinks you're crazy and like you're sticking your hand up your prison pocket, man, nobody's gonna want to mess with you at all.
Yeah, there was that, and then we had so we had this guy come in, right? It was like my first week. He comes in highly combative with the cops. We get him in, do the pat down. We stick him in a cell. He's just super angry, and I have my sergeant come down so I can talk to him because he wanted to be there whenever I opened the door to talk to him, right? And I had to ask him, "Hey man, why are you so edgy?" He's like, I'm in jail. I have nothing to do." And I was like, "Hey, let's if I get you a book." And he's like, "That's perfect. I just want something to do." I get him a book, right? He's so intoxicated. I know he's not going to read it. So he sits there with the book upside down and just flicking through it faster than what he could read. And then he just passes out. Next time he comes in, he's super agitated. I try going, "Hey man, look, I was the one that got your book last time. You willing to work with me? I can work with you like we did last time." And then we ended up having to go hands on with him and put him into padded. That was my first hands-on situation. We weren't expecting to go hands-on, so our lights were off and padded, so we could barely see what we were trying to do and grab, and it was just a clusterfuck. And with the adrenaline going, I was shaking, and I couldn't get the cuff key into the hole to get the cuff off at first, so we were trying to do that in the dark too. It was just awful.
Yeah, I can imagine. Well, yeah, that's crazy. You know, like going to jail, something always happens in jail, man. It's nonstop.
Every time I go in on my days, it's one of those days something's gonna happen.
Does it ever get to a point where you can like feel it in the air that something's about to happen?
Yeah, and you can it feels like you can cut it with a knife. And even the inmates other inmates that aren't even in that unit across the jail have that feeling, and they'll ask, "Hey, has anything happened today?" Because they get that feeling and they can sense it as well. It is a weird thing to know, but it's really weird to feel it though, too.
What would you tell people that's never been to jail? This is not the life they want. Kind of end this interview off something positive.
You end up living so close to people that you'll get housed with people you don't like. It'll be agitating every day. It will be, you got so many rules to follow. You got COs that will come in and nitpick every little thing you do, or so many small things that you could do and then lose privileges. You don't want to be there. Like, I've had one inmate tell me, "I don't want to be here anymore." It's like, neither do I. I want to be able to, man. Like, even the COs don't want to be there at times. Like, it's not a great place to be for anyone.